Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're doing well, staying safe, taking care of those closest to you, avoiding the BA5 variant, the sweltering heat, the monkeypox, any of the myriad of things that are striving to take us out. Crazy couple weeks it's been. But I'm excited to share today's episode with you guys. Before we get into it, just this past week, I was actually in Vermont for my friend's bachelor party, which was an incredible good time. It's sort of like I kept, as I was going around with my buds, like hanging out at a lake and getting brunch and going from bar to bar late at night in downtown Burlington, I kept hearing that Asher Roth song in my head, which is not the kind of stuff that I ever did when I actually was in college. When I was in college, I was, especially my last year, between all of my classes, my part-time job, and doing comedy. I just started doing comedy, and my thesis. I was pretty much just a walking zombie for a good portion of time. So I never did a ton of the going out to multiple different bars and the classic college stuff that you think of from the movie films. But this past weekend was a nice little reliving of that time, and just kind of like, and this is something I think about a lot, is that adult friendship is so different and difficult to maintain. Like, I have tons of friends that I don't see very often, when we always snap right back in as soon as we see each other or whenever we do chat. But just the idea of being around all of your friends for a day or even a day or two just seems so difficult to do when you get to like 30s and 40s. And I'm sure other people have felt about this as well, but like getting older, like your social circle gets smaller, and it's odd, and it's difficult to try to just make friends for the sake of making friends. Lots of time, I make I know people, and then we become friends because of work or social circles, music, etc. But just a weekend of just where the only goal is a good time is very rare, and almost feels bizarrely self-indulgent in a time when it seems like nothing good can happen. But I was very happy to get to spend time with my friend, and I'm looking forward to his wedding very, very soon. My friends Corey and Emily. That'll be pretty great. And I think since I talked to you last, my band Bright Ugly played with Goalkeeper and Calling All Captains at Sovern in Brooklyn, which was incredibly fun time. Our next gig is not we don't have one on the calendar currently, but in the meantime, I do have a batch of 4 singles that are going to be released steadily over the next couple months, and I'm very excited to get to share with you guys that Bright Ugly's first recording, which is previously only available on Bandcamp, is now going to be available widely very soon across all streaming services. It's been submitted. I just have to get it approved. So if you're a fan of my band, or if you've heard me talk about my band and you're curious, you'll now be able to get it on your streaming player of choice. So that is something I'm very excited about. I'm also excited about my guests today. My guests on the show today are Matt Pezz and Devin Kollmar from the New Jersey-based band All Systems Go. I became aware of their music relatively recently, and I do have a soft spot for bands named after songs by bands I like. And they put out really excellent put out really excellent melodic punk rock, and especially in like that Philly, New Jersey area. I feel like I'm becoming very familiar with the Philadelphia, New Jersey music scene. So I'm very excited to get to share this with you. They've got a bunch of singles. I think we'll have an EP out later this year as well. And this is one that I've been sitting on for a while, so I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. And if you enjoyed this and are curious about anything else related to my guests or to me, links for All Systems Go are going to be in the description of this podcast. And you can and you can also check out awesomedisaster.com for anything related to me and things I do. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's WillCarey23. It's a lot of food and music and and post about the show. So thanks again, folks, for being here. And let's talk to Matt and Devin from All Systems Go. Well, I'm really excited to chat with you guys because I listened to your newest single before we got on here, "Don't Let Me Go," and I think like from listening to your earlier stuff into this, like I'm seeing like a real progression in terms of like the writing and the arrangements and not just the as well as the production quality.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting better at it as it goes along.
Mm-hmm.
So a nice little trade secret is actually we work for a producer for the first time with these singles, and actually
Mhm.
working with a producer compared to a sound engineer is a complete mind-blowing difference.
Yeah, in your
They have
experience,
a
what's the difference?
they actually have an input on the music itself rather than just hitting record, mixing it and then shipping it out the door. They want to be part of the process. They want to be from the beginning. You sit down, you do a pre-pro day, you sit down with the producer, go over every song. He tells you what he likes, what he hates, and sometimes he just tells you to F off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say in terms of pre-production, when we sit down with a but we worked with Nick Brzezzi from Man Overboard on our most recent stuff. I
Mhm.
would say, and this includes the rest of the songs on the upcoming album. I would say we spent about, on average, an hour to an hour and a half just like talking and discussing through all 8 songs total.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Per
lot
Just
of
song, even.
just like discussing the songs. Just like did you send him
Mhm.
demos and then he provides feedback on those?
Yeah, so we did it in like we did our upcoming album in 3 sessions. The first session being the 3 most recent singles. Like the demos that we had, they didn't go through too many changes. I feel like they went through less changes in the later songs, but the first 3 singles definitely had a good amount like of like tweaking done to them, I guess. But
Mhm.
we would sit down with Nick, listen to the demos. He would have a guitar out. We would have guitars out. We would like show him how the song goes, how to play the song and stuff like that. And then we would go through each section of the song and be like, what if the rhythm guitar did this? Like, what if there was a lead part here that did this? Or like these 4 measures of this phrase don't work here. You should cut them, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But, like spending an hour to an hour and a half on each song, just like really like breaking it down and having his input because he's written so many things, and he's worked with so many bands.
Amazing songs.
Right, yeah.
I guess to add on to what Matt was saying too, I think a big part of the reason why it felt like we had a lot less, more critiques and changes going into these last few songs is just because the first time we went into the studio with him, we just were able to digest everything he had to say and take that and implement it into our writing and kind of just take what we like to do, what our sound is, and also make it a little bit easier for the attention span and for the listener.
No, yeah, that makes total sense. Like you're able to just get it from the source, and especially someone with such a track record as Man Overboard. I can imagine has a lot to say. That thing about attention span. I'm curious if there was some like, what do you think was the most valuable piece of advice that he got from you? Because something I've tried to do over the years is get to the good parts quicker when I write songs. I used to have a
That
real
was yeah, that's his number one thing was just don't dilly dally, get to the good parts. And then the number two thing was after that, like first catchy hook, do something different. Then we had a tendency of going into the main riff after the first chorus. And he said that you kind of want to do something a little bit different to bring something new to the ear.
uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So that like the listener thinks they know what's going to happen next, but then they're like,
Yep,
"Oh, that is not what I was expecting."
exactly.
Uh-huh. No, absolutely. That's key. I've also heard like sometimes like slowing down right before a pre-chorus and then building up, ramping up into a chorus. I've heard a lot of producers say that too. So that's killer.
Something we haven't done, but now it's something we can try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember where I read that, but that's something That's when I started, like, sometimes, like, when you hear someone describe to you how a song works and why it works, you're like, oh, well, I get it. It's like unlocking the puzzle, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
These first three singles are off of an upcoming album, and this is going to be your second or third kind of full length or third EP.
It's our second full length. There's going to be 8 songs total. And our third record.
Third release. Yeah.
Third record overall. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And just out of curiosity, so you would do like an hour and a half of production each time. So you would really like know exactly how the song's going to be played when you go in to record it. How do you feel the recording process has changed from this release compared to your earlier releases?
Oh man.
Well, I could say one thing is one of the first things we do is go into a big room and play as a band. We track it, we play to a metronome, and we didn't do that before. Before, we just had the demos, we had the metronome, and then we just laid down the tracks instead of having a full feel of the song.
Yeah, I was going to say with the big room thing, and this is one thing that we learned because we followed Nick before we worked with him, and on Instagram he has pictures of like bands playing together in the big room, and then him saying like in the caption like I'm recording these guys. So we're like, do we have to learn like the full song, like, you know, and play like record it all at the same time? But really what we're doing is just recording the scratch track together so we can get an actual feel as a band of how the song should sound. With the two, that's already a big step up from our 2 previous releases, because with Garden State Skies, we recorded demos, sent them to somebody to critique them, and then started the recording process ourselves. And we didn't even use like scratch tracks for the drums. Joe basically one-taked like all of the songs just based on memory.
Doubled.
Yeah.
Nothing's doubled.
And then for the waiting room, I just did the scratch tracks by myself, like in Logic, just the guitar and a metronome for Joe to play along with when we got to the studio.
Gotcha. That I understand that. So you would basically have the scratches, and then he would go to play to that, and then you would do the final guitars and then like do a couple layers, so it sounds like really nice and thick.
Yep.
Nice. Now, just I'm taking a shot in the dark here, but just out of curiosity, I'm assuming we're all kind of around the same age, and we're all from the Northeast. Who in the band is playing the Stratocaster with a humbucker, or is it both of you?
That would be me. I have. Are you talking about the black Stratocaster with the humbucker in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually our friend Chris, who's in a band Afton, built that guitar himself, and I think he just grew tired of it, and it's exactly what I was looking for. So I was able to luck out on that. Nice little custom guitar. Can say it's a one of a kind.
That's awesome, because to me, like I'm trying to like grow away from my gear attachments, but the one thing that I always come back to, especially when it comes to pop punk music and this style of music, is Strats with humbuckers are just perfect for the perfect sound for this style. I love it.
I actually have been playing a Strat for a good long time now, and I picked that up about a year ago, and we've been trying to find that thick sound that you don't get from a Fender, like a standard Fender. And the minute we plugged that in, it didn't have to change any settings on the amps. It just changed everything.
Just instantly, just like excellent.
That full, especially with rhythm guitar, that full like bottom low end.
Oh yeah.
Oh, totally. And you can, and this can be for Matt, this can be for live or in the studio. What do you typically play when it comes to guitars?
Anything that has like a thick neck. So my go-to, the one that I use is a Epiphone Les Paul traditional Pro 2. Basically a knockoff Gibson. Well, not a knockoff actually, but I like the way it sounds too.
You can't call them knockoffs.
Yeah, no. But like when I was tracking leads and stuff, I was using Nick's Gold Top, Gibson Gold Top.
Yeah, he's got a 69 Gold Top.
It might be a 70.
One of those.
Might be a 75. I know it's from like decades ago.
Yeah, like
That's
a
the guitar,
really
though.
nice vintage guitar.
keeping it in tune, that's a bitch, but the sound, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I have an Epiphone as well, and yeah, I love the way it sounds and the way it plays, but there's just yeah, you got to tune it a lot for sure. Well,
One of the perks of the studio lately is we use an Evertune in the studio as well. So all the rhythms recorded on that, you tune it one time and you're done.
yeah,
That's another thing too with the Evertune. We doubled a lot of the leads that you hear on any of the songs, like with that, just so it has that like extra thickness. Plus, we know it'll be in tune behind it.
Mm-hmm.
oh, awesome. That's because when I was listening to the newest single, I thought the lead sounded really good. Like not only was it like a really catchy melody that kind of grabbed the ear, but I was listening, I was like, wow, this sounds like it doesn't sound like that sort of like bridge pickup kind of thing. Like I really liked the tone you got on that. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely a special shout out to Don Maggio there because they'll come in, they'll slap 20 pedals on the floor. He'll sit there for 10 minutes tweaking every pedal before you even hit record, and it's awesome.
that's really cool. And I kind of wanted to trace this a little bit. How long have you guys known each other?
Me being in 7th grade, him being in 6th grade.
So probably like 15 years.
Okay,
Same
like
with
that.
same with Joe too, since middle school, our drummer.
Mm-hmm.
gotcha. So this goes way back. And were you guys like friends immediately when you met, or did that take a while?
I'd
Um,
say it actually took a little bit in comparison to everybody else in our friend group between me and Matthew, and now it's my brother.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Like me and Devin were theater kids starting in middle school, and we
Uh-huh.
were all in like band and stuff. I know Devin did choir, Joe did choir too. And I'll include Augie here, like our original bass player, because he was like part of the band too. Like when we started All Systems Go, he came up with the name. Um, but we were all in band, and then me and Devin were theater kids, and in 8th grade, we were in the my 8th grade year, we were all in the musical Seussical. Like I was Horton the Elephant, he was Cat in the Hat, and our original drummer from high school, Kyle, was the mayor of Whoville. So like that show, and then August was in stage crew too. So like
Uh-huh.
that show is how basically all 4 of us became friends. And around that same time, I started learning how to play guitar. Devin started learning how to play guitar, and Augie was like, "Oh, if we ever wanted to start a band, I'll learn how to play bass." And Kyle had drums in his garage, so like we started our first band like a couple years later, like halfway through high school.
Amazing. I love this because I was a theater kid too. That's what my college degree is in. So
Oh, really? That's cool.
yeah. So I was it's not too dissimilar experience to my first band because my best friend since I was like a child talks me into doing theater. I become a theater kid, sets me on the whole path I've followed till today. And I think we were doing it was senior year, so we were probably going into doing the spring musical, which was the Pajama Game. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that show.
Mm-mm.
I think I might have.
Classic Bob Fosse musical. It's about a
Okay.
pajama factory that strikes for a 7.5 cent raise. And I was and I was like the evil boss that didn't want to pay his employees fairly. Uh,
So good. That's the
and
best role every single time is the evil boss.
yes, no, and I had never played a bad guy before, so it was really fun to go on stage and like yell at people and have them run and cry at everything.
I almost always play the bad guy in musicals that I was in.
Uh huh.
I was usually the gay guy, so there's that.
Yeah.
Well, then you also get to play. Well, then you also get to play the like very like theatrical kind of
The
like
fun.
vampy.
Yeah, the fun, flamboyant. You get to run around, have fun, and guess what? I run around and have fun still. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, the path starts early. This is very cool because so you're theater kids, and this is still in Delran, like outside of Philadelphia.
yes.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, we all live in different like towns now. Like I'm the only one that still lives here, but
Mhm.
like we still have all of our practices here. We're still all like fairly local, except Joe. He lives out in Central PA now.
Ah, gotcha. Is that a far drive for rehearsal, or do you just kind of make it work for?
We've always made it work because Joe's 2 grades younger than me. He's 1 grade younger than Devin, and That said, he during the years of the band, he's been in college the longest. He's been 6 hours away at grad school for 2 years of the band. So like we load our summer schedule up with shows most of the time, and then the rest of the year, and now he still works out there. The rest of the year, like we just try to make it work as best as we can. Like if we have a weekend where all of us are off, we'll try to squeeze like a 3-show like tour in there or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little mini
spring
run.
break.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so you're middle school theater kids, and were you punk kids early on? What is there a patient zero for either of you of what got you interested in music and playing specifically?
I would say we're all originally like screamo, Warped Tour, like post-hardcore type kids.
Okay.
I wanted to start playing guitar because like I was obsessed with Guitar Hero 3 at the time, and I'm like, these like if I could like hit the strings and stuff like and actually like make the sounds and stuff, it seemed like it would be cool. But I would say like collectively, even when we would write songs that sounded like Blink 182, like in our first band in high school, I feel like we always wanted to have that like that heavy
Slightly
hitting,
heavier
like,
sound.
yeah. Like we would always think and talk that way in terms of like when we write this song, like and we're like trying to show each other how to play it and stuff. Like I feel like we've always had that kind of like heavier influence in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Like a love of low tunings and chunka parts.
Yeah.
Maybe not the
We
low
love
tunings.
drop D.
Definitely the chugs for sure.
Uh-huh. Oh no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the first time, well, even just I remember the first time like picking up a guitar and hitting like a big open E5 and just being like, ha 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 ha, I've figured something else out here. Yeah. It's like it's like super empowering. And so Devin, like Matt was kind of like your gateway into music is what you're saying?
I would say into this realm of music. The very first thing that got me into music was when I was in 5th grade. I went to go see Footloose that the middle school production put on, and I was blown away. And I fell in love with music from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to rock and roll, pop punk, all of that, this guy right here is the one that started me on it when he showed me The Devil Wears Prada.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, I remember. Well, I remember having seen the movie, and then when a band came out, I was like, "Oh, this is very different from what I imagined a band named after that movie would sound like." I got into them from the Still Fly cover from Punk Goes Crunk.
Exactly how he got me in. It was so good.
And With Roots Above still holds up as an album. And their recent singles are good too. Like I'm excited to see when like their upcoming album that they have coming out.
Yeah, like they've really like stayed in there and have continued to put out stuff, and I love when I see that. It like it's so rad. Like I remember like when We Were Young Fest got announced, lots of people on the internet were like, these bands are still together, and I'm like, they never stopped. You just stopped paying attention.
Yeah.
No, some of them did, but well, one specifically.
Yeah. My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've got a funny story about them. So my office is filled with a bunch of former emo kids, and the day that reunion tour got announced, we all had like we had like our work laptops and our personal laptops, just constantly refreshing Ticketmaster, trying to get in on all of the different shows in the area. It was like being on the floor of the stock exchange.
No, I'll settle for Sad Summer, a couple other shows for the same price. You know, I'll go see probably 10 shows for that price.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel. And I've also felt like if I'm going to spend like that much money to travel, because that's essentially what it is, that's a trip, I would want to like be in another country for that amount of money, personally. But I got some fun shows lined up. I've been to a few fun shows. Broke my arm at a Newfound Glory concert a couple weeks ago.
Lord. We just played with somewhat played with Newfound Glory. We played at AC Beer Fest recently, and they were the headliners on the day we played.
Oh, awesome!
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Were you guys there the day the band Goalkeeper were there? I think they played.
No,
they were the first day.
Oh, they were the first day.
We did play with them recently. I don't know what the date was. He would know.
It's May 20th. So this is like 2 weeks
Oh, yeah.
before that we played a show with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love those. I love those dudes. I love when they come through New York, getting to see them.
They played a
Yeah, they're
new
awesome.
song. They played a new song when they played with us, and the new song, just like from hearing it, it's like standing like in the middle of the room, like, wow, that chorus. I know they work with Nick too on their most
Mhm.
recent, on their upcoming album, and it's just like I can't wait to hear what they have in store.
Ooh.
So good.
Now this is exciting because my band's gonna play with them in a few weeks, so I can't wait to hear that. That'll be super exciting.
Are you on one of the Calling All Captains shows tour?
Yeah, we're my band's called Bright Ugly. We're local support for the Sovern show.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
We're on the AC show for that tour.
very nice, very nice. It is such a small world.
Exactly.
And when you guys were growing up, I want to trace this a little bit. When you guys were growing up, was there like, were you going to like local shows, or were you like going into the city to see bands like when they came through Philly?
That depends.
Not so much local. I was a little too young, I felt like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, I was lame in high school. I didn't really go to shows. I really wish I did. Like, I remember freshman year there was there was like a local church show that was like post-hardcore bands. A couple people that we knew, like their older siblings, were in a couple bands, and I went with August, our original bass player, and our other friend, and we wanted to go check it out because we had started talking about starting a band. We're like, oh, if we go to a show, we'll be like inspired or something. And that's when we were introduced to like how loud shows actually are, and like moshing and stuff like that. And it was like, at first it was like, I don't know if I like this or not. Like the music itself, like when it was like on MySpace and stuff, sounded sick, but it was like, I don't know if I really feel like comfortable here, kind of thing. So then I didn't go to shows for a while. And then when we started playing shows, like even back in high school, that's when it kind of was like, okay, I like this, like just the vibe of being like out, live music stuff, you know?
I most certainly do. Yeah, I remember my first couple of like local shows feeling like a little unnerved, or the first time you see a mosh pit, you're just like,
like you don't know what to do.
Oh,
I mean, I've been to other like big acts, of course, going throughout my childhood. Like, I went to Warped Tour every year when they had it, so I was exposed to that off the rip. But never like went to local shows growing up until we really started playing as a band again.
Gotcha. And what years did you go to Warped Tour, Devin?
Probably 2008 through like 2012.
Gotcha. Okay, so I went 2005 through 2008, so I kind of remember the era. I think by the time.
I mean, what year did I graduate? 2014. So up until I graduated high school, 2014. We'll go with that.
Right on.
But yeah, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, well, the last time I went, I remember the last show I went, I remember having a really good time, except for the band I remember the most from that day was Cute Is What We Aim For. Do you remember them? So I don't know if they just had an off day or not, but typically like like the notes are like maybe like up here somewhere, I'm up towards the screen. He was like maybe a full octave down. So it was really here. So it was really interesting to hear like not Cute Without the E, that's Taking Back Sunday, but that like Drama Doesn't Follow Me song, like sung a whole octave down. It was like very
off-putting.
Yeah, that said, I was surprised by Newfound Glory. Jordan, the vocalist, he's got pipes. Like, sang for an hour and a half, and it's like, oh, this is like the 30th show of the tour. And it was like, wow, his voice, like, he's got to like take care of his voice or something, because he's like singing like everything strong and stuff. Same thing with Parker Cannon when we saw The Story So Far recently. It was like we were singing in the audience, and I'm like, I think that was like right before we went back into the studio for the third time. I was like, I'm having trouble hitting these notes, like, and he's just holding it out for a whole set. Like, damn.
Yeah, that's I always, I guess I own that up to like he must have taken vocal lessons somewhere along the way and learned about like breath control and stuff. Like,
oh, for sure.
Or like I always think back, like, the leads in all the musicals that have to do that big like belt at the end of the song. Like
Mhm.
you gotta just be like,
Yeah.
I envy that because I tend to by the end of the set be a little out of breath, so I'm just sort of like singing the last song sometimes. Um, but
I just
but
get raspy.
yeah, do some punk rock kind of rasp.
Mm-hmm.
Newfound Glory still are amazing after all these years. The show I went to was the 20-year anniversary for Sticks and Stones. They sound incredible.
I think
That's
that's
so
what they
cool.
just played. That's the album with
Yeah.
My Friends Over You on it, right? And
Yep.
like the story so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard of the story so far was the 10-year anniversary tour for Sticks and Stones. They were one of the opening acts. And
Oh,
I
nice.
and I had that old man punk rock pop punk moment where I was like, are all my new favorite bands going to be named after songs by my old favorite bands?
I
Mano.
mean, we have a song.
Well, even before I got onto this, and you were like, also, and I saw the name of the band was All Systems Go when we were setting this up. I was like, did they name themselves after that Boxcar Racer song?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought
The answer is yes.
so. I dig it. And so okay, so you're theater kids. You're thinking of starting a band. Did you guys immediately start a band together? Is All Systems Go your first band that's continued on?
No. So in high school, so let's see, 10th grade for at right after Devin's freshman year, right after my sophomore year, the summer between 10th and 11th grade, um, our first band was called But We Aren't Canadian.
It's a fun name.
Yeah, and like that actually has a little bit to do with some of what's going to be on our upcoming album, which is kind of cool. It's got like a kind of a look back feel to it. But we
Mm-hmm.
started our first band, and I want to say like we didn't know, so we played like birthday parties, we played the local swim club, we played like in driveways and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how to book shows, and we would always be playing to like people just from our high school. Like there was a few gigs where we played where um what was it, Kyle's cousin's graduation party, where it was all kids from Haddon Heights, and we played in a garage and it was packed and it was cool. Like we didn't, I don't want to say it was like, things are different the way they from the way that they were originally.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we always thought of the band as like when we ended it at the end of, at the when the other three of us graduated in high school, we were like, I feel like we could have done a lot more, and we just didn't because we didn't know how. And we would always like kind of put our faith in like other people,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe like moms we knew would be like, oh, I know how to get you guys like this and that, or like I know somebody who like owns a record label or something, and like just nothing ever came from that.
Sure.
So then after high school, we kind of just all split up because we all went to different colleges and stuff, and Devin was still in high school. And then
Mhm.
like just because of that, we kind of didn't continue music for a little bit. And then Devin, I didn't see you for like a few years like after that.
Yeah, I dipped out for a while.
Uh-huh. And so you get a high school, and Matt, where'd you go to college?
Susquehanna University in Pennsylvania.
Okay. And and what did you study, just out of curiosity?
Marketing and economics.
Ah, these are good skills for punk rock. Especially on like the DIY level,
Oh yeah.
most certainly. Like I'm having to learn all this stuff now, like the business sides of the P&Ls of like tour and do tour spreadsheets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that you got your foundation there. And so Devin, after Matt goes off to school, you're getting towards the end of high school, and then what happens?
So I finished out of high school. I was still doing theater at that point. I was just I did get into a little bit of rough count, but we won't get into that.
Sure.
So after that, I did go spend a semester at the University of Maine, and I got kicked out, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I've just been working my ass off as a laborer, and now I'm doing vending machines, and I've been doing that for about 7 years. So that's that.
Right on. So like, were you like construction?
Oh no, I did. I worked at a paper mill, which is awful. It smells horrible, and it's like 130 degrees. So
Uh-huh.
I didn't last long there. And then pretty much just been doing vending ever since.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I've driven by a couple paper mills in my time, and it just is like bleach and death smell.
Yeah,
Like an
it's not pleasant.
yeah, like you're working in a murder scene that is actively being cleaned up.
Speaking of that, so what my job was is we took all like we would recycle paper, so we would take old paper, throw it into a giant mixer,
Uh
and
huh.
then it would ship over. So when somebody picked up a big bale of paper, they threw it in. There happened to be a skunk in that bale, and the entire plant just smelled like skunk for about 3 weeks, and it was the worst thing. In 130-degree weather, it's not great.
Yeah, that's brutal. And so okay, so you're out of school, you're working, and then how did you meet back up with Matt?
I'll let him tell that story actually.
Okay.
Probably from like lifeguarding, right? In the summer.
No, no. I thought it was just like we were just talking one day. Tell him
Yeah, I
the
know, but like
London lights.
leading up to that, I feel like that. Although no, you were working at the you were working with the vending machine company already at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
I just feel like I reached out just because I wanted to get good friends again and not my hooligan
yeah, I
get
was
out of
gonna
my
say
hooligan life.
Uh huh.
when we decided to start the band again, I was on vacation with my family. I was actually at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that week too. Um, but at one point, I think we had to have hung out like in person first before like we like started talking about this. I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, but it was like July 2016. Like all of us and all of our friends were working. It was the summer before senior year of college for the rest of us, like time wise at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of a sudden at a hangout, Devin just shows up for like the first time in like forever, and then we just like chill. And then like later, it's like hey dude, like how have you been, kind of thing. And then literally in like the one of the first conversations we had, that the conversation like kept going for the first time in a while, was about like music and stuff. And then at the time I was trying to like relearn like guitar and like kind of like get better at it and stuff.
Uh huh.
um so I was like, I've been playing guitar recently, and I actually wrote something here, and I had a riff on my phone. The riff we haven't used for a song yet, just because like we haven't found like a good use for it yet.
Sure.
Um, but I showed it to him, and I would say the riff itself has kind of like a vibe that's like maybe like a some like type of easy core like MCR type like dark vibes too. And it
Mhm.
was a totally different sound from the band that we had in high school. Like I would say in high school, like our band sound was always like bright, if anything.
Yeah.
The best way to describe it, I guess.
Mhm. Like
But from
happy
there,
sounding.
yes, yeah. So from there, it was like, hey, like I don't think it would be a crazy idea if we started like we're old enough to go into bars and stuff now. Like, what if we started it again? And then at first, because also in high school, I feel like we didn't get the support that we like always thought that we would get. Like, oh, we're in a band, we're so cool, kind of thing. Like, we never had that. If anything, if we had a bad gig, everyone would be like, oh, like these guys aren't going
Don't ever
anywhere.
play
Like,
again.
yeah, like don't ever play or don't ever play that song again. You covered my favorite song and you ruined it. Like, just please stay away from. Like, we've had that. Like, we had so much of that especially towards the end of our band in high school, that it was like, if we do it again, I don't know if anybody's going to take us seriously or not. And then at that point, it was just
Uh-huh.
like, well, who cares? So then we hit up Augie and Kyle, and we were just like, do you guys want to do this again? And then it was a lot of back and forth for like a couple days. And then eventually, I think like both of them reached back out. I think actually we talked to Kyle first, because he was like, I feel like Augie would have been the most hesitant at the time to do it. But we talked to Kyle, and then he was like, I'll get back to you. I don't know if I have time to do it, but if I can make time for it, we'll see, kind of thing. And then a couple days later, he's like, you know what? Let's do it. And then we're like, Augie, the other three of us want to start the band back up. And he's like, what? Like, what? Sure. And then like he jumped on it right away too. And
Uh-huh.
then from there, that's how, it was like, hey, I got a few songs that we could work on. Let's like take the time to go through each of these the same way that we like did pre-pro essentially, and like practice them. And it's only going to be a few songs, so it's not going to be like an hour set or anything. Like let's
Mm-hmm.
take this band thing one step at a time, and also look back on everything that we did wrong in high school, or everything that might have been like cringe or whatever in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
let's fix that, you know?
Uh-huh. Like as far as like, let's make sure that people tell us not to desecrate their favorite song, kind of thing.
Yeah, or if we know that a song is going to be hard, let's make sure that we get all of it right first, that we make sure that it sounds right. Like just little things too. Like the name But We Aren't Canadian, everybody always referred to it by the acronym BWAC.
Uh-huh.
Like, and as if the band was called BWAC, you know what I mean? That wasn't our band name. So when we were selecting a name, it was like, I want people to actually say our band name.
Mm-hmm.
It was like all little things like that it's like, this happened the first time, we didn't like it, let's change that. Let's think and change that, and just take this whole band thing one step at a time. That's the mentality that we had when we started All Systems Go.
Gotcha. Very meticulous, kind of like planning, like something that most
Yes.
young bands don't like to do, and is planned. But you guys like came back around to it. I dig that. And what year was this? Because you've put out quite a few releases. So what year did this happen?
2016.
2016. Okay. That's a good time to start a band, right as the fall of democracy began. I dig it.
Yeah, it's just so sense. We got good material.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Like there's
Lots to work with.
Yeah, there's a certain sort of like, sometimes I sort of feel like Nero playing a fiddle as Rome burns around him. Like when I do these podcasts, or like talk about like, oh, my next acoustic single's coming out. It's like, but I can't think of a better way to live out the end of days than just thinking of everything I've ever wanted to do and just do it. All right. Yeah. And so you guys start off like playing around New Jersey and Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our first show was actually at my college, just because I knew we'd be able to draw people there. And our first few shows were acoustic too, because Kyle could just play the cajon, not learn full drum set yet, and just because we wanted to be like in kind of close quarters and get our chemistry back.
Sure.
And then the first show was in September of that year. And then we still didn't know how to book shows. So we started with like, okay, let's play like over winter break. Let's play an open mic every single night of a week, so that there's like 6 of them in a row or something like that. And then put it on like a social media post and call it a tour, you know?
Totally.
So that was the way that we did it the first time. It was like, oh, we're home and we're going on tour. So we would go to these bars and stuff, free open mic, free audience essentially. And it would be like, okay, we only get like 2 or 3 songs or like 15 minutes, so like let's make this count, like so let's make each of these sets count, kind of thing. So then like halfway through that, Kyle was like, if this is the time that it's going to take, and if you guys want me to learn like real drums, I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit to that, kind of thing. So at first it was like, okay, like what do we do? Lo and behold, we have like one of the best drummers in South Jersey that went to our high school, who was also on winter break already, Joe, who's still here with us. And I think like we said like at one open mic, it was like, okay, we're only playing like 3 songs or something. Do you want to just bring like a snare and a hi-hat, and just like, we're not bringing our full setup, but let's play electric this time and just see what happens. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll fill in, like filling in for the rest of the tour, you know, a couple like nights out kind of thing. It's like, okay. And then I think it was what show is that? I think it was that place in Voorhees, Devin, the coffee
Yeah,
works.
it was the coffee shop or whatever it was.
And it was
whatever the record store is now.
Yeah, now it's Tunes. Yeah, so we went to this local coffee shop that was doing an open mic, and it had like an actual stage and stuff. And I remember the guy who was hosting it let us play like a second set, and everybody who was in there, like for their friends too. I remember it was like everybody who was in there like stayed. It wasn't that many people, but like we still like kind of, I guess, impressed them. And it was like, do we want to do this again? Talking to Joe too. Do we want to do this again closer to home? Curran's, which is the bar where essentially we got our start at. And then when we went to Kearns with like our new lineup and our new setup where we were playing electric and not just acoustic, that's when it was like we were able to bring people out and stuff. And then that's when it was like, hey, you guys are pretty good. So that same winter, the guy who was running the open mics at Kearns, Rob Sankey, he had booked us in high school at some like event or something where like nobody watched us or something. But when we played for him again, he was like, you guys are pretty good. And then we kept going back the rest of that winter break because we were home for like 5 weeks or something. So we would go to that open mic every week. And then when we came back in the summer, we got our first like actual like, oh, you guys can play the open mic, but you guys will be the featured artist kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So that night was the first time we ever played like a full like all systems go set, like a 35-minute set, and we pulled 50 people like to that first show, which was cool. Awesome. And that was 2017, right at the beginning of summer of 2017.
2017. That's very cool, guys. So you get this momentum going from open mics, and I think you're actually like the first kind of musicians I've really talked to that like talked extensively about starting at open mics. Most every other band just kind of like dives into trying to book shows, but you guys build this kind of following because free stage.
Exactly. Yeah.
And cool. And then you just kind of build upon that from there.
We also like really didn't have much of an idea on how everything worked at that point. So.
Oh, I still don't know how it works. Like,
that's all him. I don't know. It's I just go on. I play. That's you ask me to play, and I'll play.
I have a better idea of it now, but before, yeah, definitely. Like there was one time I think where we went to like a record store that was 2 hours away, and I booked the show over what's that website called?
Pure Volume.
No, it was. I'm drawing a blank here. Dev, do you know what it?
Sound
Is it
Bits?
Reverb Nation?
No, it wasn't like a music booking thing. It's like
Craigslist.
Craigslist. Yeah, it was over Craigslist.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, that's how we booked like our first few like.
I did not know it was through Craigslist.
So we drove 2 hours away to a record store to play to like nobody outside, but we still had fun doing it. And it was like.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, we just played out front like of some like random music store out in the middle of nowhere on the main road.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, you got to do it. Like every little bit like leads to the next thing, and even like at a certain point, I think about this with comedy, like you put in so many like repetitions of, and even if it sucks, you're still like, okay, I'm learning how to be on stage and to present myself as a performer.
How not to suck.
Yeah, and then how soon after that did you guys record your first stuff?
So recording was like all of 2018. We had somebody hit us up, just to like provide like mixing services and stuff. And basically we recorded the whole album, our first album ourselves, because we started the band in 2016. We had all these songs. We didn't start recording anything. We didn't really have anything aside from like random like one take demos like on SoundCloud or something until Garden State Skies was out.
Yeah.
So 2018 we spent most of the year tracking and like editing, sent it away to be mixed. Got mixes back really, really slow and like sparingly kind of thing. And yeah, we just put the first record out at the beginning of 2019.
Awesome. So this is this still, and 2019, and then to have your third release in as many years, that's I applaud the productivity, guys.
Thank you.
That's just how long it took to get those first mixes back.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had a much better experience like writing and recording the waiting room than we did Garden State Skies.
Everything else has been in like 5 days,
Yeah.
In, out, we know what we're doing. You have designated things you do on designated days. You're there, 12 to 14 hours, and you just
Yeah, you just knock it out and you're like, all right, done. Uh, Artistic nuance, we haven't any time for that. We've got very finite amount of time.
Right.
Yeah. So
We're not that big. We don't get, unlimited time.
Oh no, exactly. Like I don't know if you ever read about like the way the Beatles recorded stuff, like when they got really experimental, and like with the exception of maybe a couple of very massive pop stars, I feel like there aren't the budgets for that kind of studio wizardry anymore, unless you are just collectively bringing everything into your house.
Mm-hmm. That's what Dave Grohl does.
Yeah, no, that's where I think it's all. And I think Nick's probably a pretty good example. Like I doubt he records in his actual home, but that seems to be where all of this is heading.
Well, the Gradwell house where we record is one of the best studios in New Jersey. There's no questioning it.
For sure.
Oh yeah, I really want to do something there because I've talked to so many people that have worked with Nick and recorded there, and all of the stuff is very good. So I can't. I really want to have that experience someday. Have you guys done like any touring yet?
That depends what you call a tour.
Well, outside of like Craigslist record store gigs. Because like I know there's obviously the old school model of like get in the van and you don't wash for 3 weeks and then you grind it out, and then I've heard the new model that I got from a guy who plays in a power metal band. He has this like DIY band course, is you do these like targeted mini tours where you go out on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then come home on a Sunday.
Yeah. So where do we leave off? 2017 into 2018.
Yeah.
2018, summer 2018, we had finished recording the album and stuff. Like we'd send it away to be mixed and stuff. From there, and I actually have like the posters in my room. From there, we did like summer 2018. We did like one show every single weekend of the summer from start to finish kind of thing. And then after that, it was from just doing that, we were like so burnt out because it was like every weekend was that whole obligation,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, bands do this all the time though. Like how do we like tour? And then at the end of 2018, we did what we called the Tri-State Skies tour, where we played shows in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. And it was 5 weekends in a row, or like 4 weekends in a row, but we would do like it was only like 4 weekends in a row, so it was like we're not going to play again until summer. Because I think like I don't know if that was Joe's senior. I think that was Joe's senior year of college, and he was like, I have to prepare so in the spring he had to prepare for all of his recitals and like his teaching exams and like student teaching and stuff like that. So he's like, I'm not going to be around until June anyway. So we did like 4 weeks of shows where it would be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like Saturday or Friday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, like Thursday, Saturday, or something like that. And it was just like, it was a group of 10 shows. And from there, that's when we started. We met so many bands just from like booking that ourselves and like doing that and stuff. And since like, I think the one that we did after that in the summer was only 2 weeks, but it was 10 shows in 2 weeks, where it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then like, or like a Tuesday or a Monday, like that second week or something like that. So then it was like, but it wasn't like we went on the road and stayed somewhere each night. Like we would always play within like 2 hours max of home kind of thing.
Yeah.
Staying overnight places, that's something we only done recently for anything.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And where was that gig?
What do you mean, like staying over?
Yeah. Where was that gig where you had to go out and then come back overnight?
Just
every gig, essentially.
Ah, gotcha.
AC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
spectacles.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
just doing big shows now.
Right on. And where do you guys like to play in Philly?
The Grape Room. Now the Grape Room. Yeah, we played there we played there before, but we played there on like a Thursday night acoustically This time when we played, there was like I didn't know that they do like emo nights on Saturday nights, like after the bands play. So we thought that like because we were playing late, there wouldn't be anybody there or anything. But as soon as like 10:30 hit, all of a sudden the place was just packed from front to back. So when we played to a full house.
Sweet.
There used to be this venue across from Sugar House / Rivers Casino called the Bar, and the Fillmore called the Barbary. They don't do shows anymore though. That was one of our favorite venues to play.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It was still around.
Well, right on. Well, I'm imagining like with this upcoming release, I'm seeing like, hopefully you guys get I hope you guys get to have a few more like show opportunities, because like I love the new stuff is very good. Like I loved All Systems Go.
Thank you.
I thought it was incredibly catchy, and I'm very much looking forward to this next record. I'm curious, what can you tell me about the new album now? Do we have a release date yet? Do we have a title?
So we have a title. We have the artwork idea. Our most recent
artists.
Yeah, our most recent show at the Grape Room, the artist that we ended up selecting to do the idea was sitting at the bar and like took a video of us on her phone and tagged us and then followed us, and it was just like, oh, she's like a tattoo artist, and then it was like all of her stuff on her page was all of her work and stuff, and it was like, yo, this fits the idea that we have for the artwork. So then she's working on the cover art for that. And we just started getting our mixes back for the other songs that aren't out yet.
Oh, awesome. And do you think you're going to put out any more singles before the full release?
One more.
Awesome. And when do you think the album will be out?
In the fall. We have a date in mind, kind of, but we might be playing it by ear more so than not.
Yeah, it all just depends on how fast we can get done the other content that's going to surround the upcoming single, as well as, you know, the content that's going to be needed for the album.
Yeah, like we're not going to do a music video for every, like a full like production music video for every song, but we do want to do something for every song, at least like one thing for every song, because just so everybody can get that full experience kind of thing.
Totally, yeah. Like Beyonce or Weird Al. I think Weird Al actually, I think for one of his albums was the first who did a video for every single song.
That's just insane. That's so much work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I make like little DIY solo videos for my acoustic stuff, and I get exhausted just with stuff that I film on my phone in my apartment. So like, I'm imagining like these full blown productions. It's just like, oh my gosh. Well, dudes, this has been quite lovely getting to know you guys, and so the new album will be out in the fall. You'll have to let me know when that happens, and when my band is coming through Philly, we're gonna have to meet up, because I've really enjoyed getting to chat with you guys. This has been quite nice.
Absolutely, and I think we're gonna be playing in New York this month, maybe this upcoming month.
Yeah, next month. I gotta just lock the show in. It would be August 13th, Saturday, August 13th at Gold Sounds in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yes, I like Gold Sounds a lot. I've played there. It's a cool space.
Nice.
You're gonna have a good show there. The sound is very good. If I'm around, awesome. I'll absolutely be there. Is there anything else we can plug before we get out here?
The Waiting Room actually will be on vinyl this coming month through Otitis Media Records. So we're pretty excited about that.
Awesome. Very cool. That's always fun when you get to do like a vinyl release. Oh, and Devin showed me the test pressing there. Very cool. Well, congratulations, guys. It was great getting to chat with you, and I can't wait to hear more new stuff from you.
Appreciate you having us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It's been nice.
Absolutely. It's been just as nice on this side. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Have a great night, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Matt and Devin from All Systems Go, great band out of the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. They have a new single that has come out this year called Don't Let Me Go, and we'll be releasing more stuff in the future. You can listen to them on your favorite music streaming service of choice, and you keep an eye out for stuff that they will have coming out later this year. That's our show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this and want to listen to more of this podcast, you can find links to your favorite podcast app of choice at awesomedisaster.com. We are on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, we are available. And if you guys want to go a little bit further in support of the show, you can check out our merch shop, which is also available at awesomedisaster.com, and also check out the Patreon, which is at patreon.com/awesomedisaster for some exclusive videos and other things that I don't put anywhere else except over there. So thank you guys again so much for being here. Continue to hold your heads high. Find joy for yourselves. You are worth it. And eventually this will, the global health crisis and political unrest may soon, hopefully, eventually end. But until that day, one day we will get closer to finishing. So thank you guys again so much for being here and listening. And I will see you next time between Awesome and Disaster. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated, stomp out fascism, and take care, everybody.